Cuts like a ninja, slices like a razor blade. That's really going to describe how this T680 goes through the air. Now, what I did there was quoted Vanilla Ice, which seems kind of appropriate, doesn't it? Hey guys, it's Josh at Kenworth of Richfield. This week we've got a 2020 Kenworth T680. It's a day cab, and it's set up with the roof fairings and some other aerodynamic pieces that we're going to talk about today because you don't see these quite as often, and I really like how these trucks are set up. So with that being said, let's do the normal thing. Cut to some B-roll. We'll start up here at the front. So guys, front to back on this truck, the nice thing about this is I can bounce off of this grill and not worry about damaging it because it's a wire mesh grill. I've talked about this in pretty much every video, but it's one of those things where you don't see it anywhere else. So yes, with this is the plastic bumper up front, the Meton bumper actually with it. It's two pieces, it's just split in the center because we found that if you go with a three-piece bumper, even if you just damage the one edge, you're gonna have to replace the center anyways. This way, it's just a two-piece setup, replace half, call it a day. Out at the very front here, this does have the collision avoidance system. It's also got the adaptive cruise control on it. One more thing that we've got here, we've got a set of heated hood mirrors out front too for those nasty weather days, and also make sure no one's hiding there up in the blind spots. So guys, there's a couple of things right up front here also that I want to talk about right around the bumper. This is a fog light in here. It's a nice lens. It's glass for you. It's recessed in. It keeps it up and out of the way. No real debris is going to get to it. The second thing that I want to point to, and I've tried to light this as best as I can, it's a matte black. We're in a dark shop, so it's not always the easiest to see, but there's this wing piece that comes down here. Now what this is designed to do is that's designed to help take air from the front end of the truck here and guide it out past the wheel. Now what that's going to do for you is that's going to get that air outside where it can flow smoothly around the side of the truck rather than going underneath where there's all sorts of stuff to stir up that air and create those high pressure areas that we have to push against. What does this mean for you? This little piece means fuel mileage. So guys, the next part of that fuel mileage equation that we're looking at, I mean, even with the mirror here, it's just the whole front end is designed to just slice through that air. This corner is nice and rounded here, so whatever air isn't going into the radiator gets softly pushed around here. We're looking to, once again, move the air out of the way, not shove it, because when you try and shove the air out of the way, that's when you get turbulence, that's when you get all sorts of other high pressure issues that you have to push through. If we can keep this as smooth as possible, that helps us to just slice through the air. It's the difference between holding your hand like this in a swimming pool and trying to push against the water this way. Obviously, going that way is going to be much better. Same thing, even if you do it as a fist, you've got the same width as what you'd have otherwise, but because of the shape of it, it actually cuts through smoother. Same thing here. It's actually going to cut through up and over the fender better. Same thing with the hood here, and as we move up over top of the cab with the fairing up there. Now, this headlight is integrated with this, and this is very, very tight in here. That's, once again, is to keep from another spot where it's got to strike the air. We're looking for smoothness all over this way. And I mean, it's just a well-crafted, there's no corners to it. It's just well-crafted curves. And that's how the air gets shoved over. We're gonna break theme for a moment just to talk. We've got Alcoa Dura Brights on these trucks. It's not because they go through the air better, it's because they look good. We're okay with that. In this truck does have the fairings on the sides. Once again, these are much more aerodynamic than just raw fuel tanks hanging out there with the steps and stuff like that on them. And that's why we went with this setup. On top of that, these steps are offset. On a fuel tank, they're typically stacked right on top of each other like a ladder. With this, you can obviously see that this one sticks out further than that one, making it ingress and egress in and out of the truck a little bit easier. Underneath that, we've got a guard here, and we've got the guard underneath to keep that air out from under the truck. Once again, air under the truck has all sorts of things to run into, to get stirred up by, and everything like that. So if we can keep air out from underneath the truck, we're doing that much better. It's interesting because it really is a big deal, the air underneath the vehicle. When you look at race cars, most of the downforce is generated actually not by the wings on top, but by the shape on the bottom of the car. If you look at your road-going cars, most of those have belly pans now. It's not to make servicing more difficult. It's not to make the car look better. What it's there for is actually for fuel mileage, because the smoother you can make that underside of that car, the better it's going to go. Well, obviously with a truck, it would be difficult to make a belly pan that would go the whole length of the truck that wouldn't weigh too much. So it's a way to find something to keep air from going underneath the truck is what we've got to use. These work really well for that. Also, as you can see, you can move these around a little bit. They're stiff enough that the air is going to stay out. The air doesn't really move them around, but if you happen to get a little bit high-centered on a curb or something of that nature, it's not going to break these either. So it seems like whenever I stand up here and I've got stuff like up there to talk about, I always end up like looking around the antenna. So you guys are just going to have to deal with that. Nonetheless, we've talked about hood and stuff like that, and the mirror continues this with that round shape in order to help push the air around it to kind of slide through or slice through that air. The more we can slice through the air instead of having to shove it out of the way, once again, that translates to fuel mileage, which translates to more money in your pocket. Now, as we come up top here, this has the full fairing up top there, which you don't see as often on day cabs, but it does. It makes a huge difference when you've got a trailer there, because let's face it, if you've just got the roof line here and then a giant barn door right behind you, well, all this slicing and dicing that you did up front here, just when you get back there, doesn't mean anything. So that's why this has that well-designed fairing that really does a good job of getting that air up and over and really around the sides of the trailer is what this does in terms of the shape it has. So the top side isn't the only part of the game with this. We've used the hood and then the cab to cut through the air. Now let's do everything that we can to get that air out and flowing smoothly along the side of the trailer. Now it's been shown 32-36 inches of trailer gap is typically what you ideally want. We've got it set up so you can get that with this truck. In this though, part of the way that we do that is this fairing comes back an additional about 12-14 inches. So that lets you have a little bit more wheelbase, but still cuts that cab to trailer distance down. Now we do that with these side panels here. Very sturdy, obviously, as you can see as I'm holding onto the handle behind them here. And it's just a nice panel that's put there with this rubber here, so that way if you get a little, well, none of you guys are ever going to do that, right? I've talked a lot about the aerodynamics on this truck, but that's not everything that this truck has here. This truck's actually set up to be very user-friendly and to go out for those long miles. 90 gallons of fuel over here, 110 gallons of fuel over here, And we've got the large DEF tank to make sure that you can go as long as possible without stopping for that either. There's a giant empty space back here, which is great because that's what's pushing the air around the trailer for you. We've got everything loaded up on the springs in terms of your lines and that. There is the added electrical connection here if you want to use that to power something else on the trailer. On top of that, we've got some work lights back here also because sometimes it's nighttime, like we're January, 5 o'clock, it's dark. So if you've got to hook or unhook at night, really convenient to have that back here, plus just to check and see what you've got going on. So guys, at the back end of things, once again, I realize that I am way too close to the camera, but we're all learning to deal with this, right? So we've got 22.5-inch Yokohama rubber on this. All that's held up by an AG400 suspension. This is the 8-bag suspension that you guys hear me talk about all the time. I really am a huge fan of the suspension. Inside of that, we've got 279 rear end gears to work with that PACCAR transmission. This all has disc brakes actually all the way around on this truck, which we've found that as guys have adapted the disc brakes, they aren't going back to drums, that's for sure. Under the hood of this truck is a 455 horsepower MX-13. Creates 1,650 foot-pounds of torque, and all that is run through that brand new PACCAR 12-speed transmission. Now, I've done a few reviews on that before, and I'm due to kind of take another one of those out to show you guys how well that transmission really drives. To me, in a setup like this, this would just be an absolute dream. So smooth, so quick. You're gonna love this one. And now we're on the inside of the truck. And to me, you know how much I enjoy the insides of the truck. To me, the big thing about it is like I come in here and it's like a vocal studio. It's quiet. It's not echoey. There's all sorts of commotion going on out in the shop, and yet maybe you can hear that whizzer wheel going, the wheel of death, but that's about it. To me, it just, once again, it's such a testament to how well these cabs are actually constructed. This one's no different, and this one is set up for long miles, but nothing over the top. It's got the smart wheel. It's not the leather wrap smart wheel. It's just the standard smart wheel. Once again, we've got your shifter controls here. We've got the basic gauges that you need, your fuel filter, your air filter, your oil temp, and your suspension load. In a truck like this, that's really what you need. We've got the air slide. We got an air dump for the back here. You can turn the traction control off or the hill hold off if you want to. That's really all we need to do with this truck other than just go down the road, make money. It's pretty simple if you ask me. In all this, I've got a surprise coming up in the next, I don't know if it's going to be next week, might be the week after, but something I'm excited about, something that's been building for a little while. So really excited. There's actually going to be a couple of announcements in that, so make sure that you're subscribed to see all that. It's going to be, things are about to get a lot of fun. Let's just say it that way. On top of that, if you think I earned it, please give me the thumbs up. Always helps. I love your guys' feedback and communicating with you guys through the comments, so please, please, please put something in the comments below. If there's something you want to see, by all means let me know. It's a little bit more difficult to get to some of the stuff now that it's winter, but as soon as it clears up, we're going to be back outside doing, once again, all sorts of fun stuff. So, all that being said, stay safe out there. Keep it rubber side down. I will catch you on the flip side.